The 18 Strong Podcast, episode 111, with Brandon Harris and Greg McLean from Premier Fitness Systems.
The movement training to me is using mobility, is using strength, is using all of these things that are out there to tie things together.
Welcome to the 18 Strong Podcast, where you get direct access to the world's greatest experts on training harder, practicing smarter, and playing better golf. Now, here's your host, Jeff Pellizzero.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. This has been quite the week. I spent most of the beginning of the week in New Orleans at the World Golf Fitness Summit, which I've talked about many times on the show, is a fantastic event that's hosted by the Titleist Performance Institute every 2 years. And this was actually their 10th year, their 10th anniversary of starting the World Golf Fitness Summit. And it's a place where all the greatest coaches in the world collaborate, fitness instructors, medical professionals, and golf coaches, all going to one location to learn from the best, engage with each other, network. And I have to say, it was just such an honor to be there and to see and meet so many people, and also get to meet so many people that have already been on the 18 Strong podcast, make a few connections as far as who's going to be coming on the show, which we've got some great guests that are lined up now. But one of the neatest things was to see some of the friends of 18 Strong that are really becoming some of the bigger names in the world of golf. On the stage, we had Neil Hausch, we had Allie Gilbert, got to meet up with Coach Caitlin Sharpless, Adam Stevenson, Nick Mueller from Rad Roller, all these different people, and got to meet so many other people, Trillium Rose. There's really just too many to name on the podcast here, but it was such a neat event, and I look forward to what's coming for 18 Strong and what's coming in the golf fitness and just golf community in general, based on the very, very intelligent people that I have met and got to hang out with. I was really hoping that our guest from last week, Liam Hennessy, the legend in strength and conditioning and golf fitness, who has worked with Padraig Harrington and many other golfers, I was hoping he was going to be there so I could buy him a pint of beer and hear some more stories and chat with him, because it was such a great conversation. If you didn't listen to episode number 110, I highly recommend you do that, especially if you are a fitness coach or any kind of a coach, learning how he and Padraig have worked so well together over the years, kind of pushing the limits and really reaching the pinnacle of what can be done with a golfer and utilizing research in order to do that. And then two other guys that I was really hoping to meet at the World Golf Fitness Summit are the guests of this week's show, Brandon Harris and Greg McLean from Premier Fitness Systems in Scottsdale, Arizona. These guys are tearing it up, working with a ton of golfers and really kind of changing the game as far as how we view fitness, how we view exercise, how we view movement. If you have ever come across their Facebook or Instagram or any of their social media platforms, you'll notice that some of the videos they're putting out are a little bit different than a lot of the other general exercise videos that you've seen, especially in the golf world. And these guys just have a little different philosophy regarding movement and innovation and utilizing some of the passion and energy that they have in, creating something that's fun and unique, but also utilizing, just some basic movement patterns and making sure that the body's doing what it needs to do before going into working on specific golf-related things or just athletic-related movements. These guys have created a culture at Premier Fitness Systems that is like no other that I've seen in regards to just the way they're working with their athletes and just the message that they're putting out for the rest of us to learn from. It was a real pleasure to finally get to catch up with these guys, both Brandon and Greg, at the same time, and just kind of get a handle on what they're doing with their athletes and really making the changes that they are in the fitness world. Before we get into the episode, I just have to give a quick shout out to my buddies over at Super Speed Golf, who I got to hang out with a little bit at the World Golf Fitness Summit. These guys are killing it with their overspeed training systems. They've got a whole new level of clubs coming out for the junior golfers, and they even had their new prototype for Super Speed baseball clubs, which were they were pretty awesome. So if you haven't gotten your hands on Super Speed golf clubs, I don't know anyone at the conference that isn't using these yet. So you're a little bit behind the curve if you don't have your Super Speed golf clubs yet. You can go to superspeedgolf.com, or you can just go to 18strong.com/superspeed and get your hands on your own fresh set of Superspeed golf clubs. Use the code 18strong and you'll get a little discount there. All right, let's bring in the boys from PFS. Brandon and Greg, what's up, guys? Welcome to the 18 Strong podcast.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for having us today.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeff.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, before the call, I've been following you guys for a while. Love what you guys are doing, what you're posting on Instagram, and that's really where I kind of found you and your stuff, and just really enjoy every time I see that you guys post a new video. I'm like, oh, cool. I want to see what these guys are doing today. So you guys are putting out some amazing things, and obviously people are liking what they're seeing because your Instagram account keeps building and your social media accounts keep building. And so first of all, I just want to congratulate you guys and say you're doing a fantastic job.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, we love your stuff as well.
Oh, I appreciate that. Before we get into Premier Fitness Systems and how you guys kind of started that, I'm going to break you guys up a little individually and just get a little background on each of you. So, Brandon, I'm going to let you start. Give me an idea of kind of growing up, where you grew up and kind of what led you to then meeting Greg, and then we'll jump in and let Greg give his story, and then we'll tie it all together.
Man, you got like an hour and a half. So
give me the brief synopsis.
Yeah, so I grew up in Tucson, so I'm a Tucson guy, and I went to ASU. So I made the switch from Tucson up to Phoenix to go to school. I played baseball, football, kind of golf on the side, I guess if you will. But I was mainly a baseball guy, football guy. I played basketball, but I'm about 5'7", so that didn't last that long. And I was fortunate enough to grow up playing with a bunch of guys that made it to the major leagues, guys that won World Series. So yeah, just I guess athletic culture down in Tucson, and then fast forward up to ASU, studied kinesiology, and I met Greg in college, and actually that's 15 years ago or so, and he got me my first job in the industry. And we have been working together as a team ever since. So the kind of joke is, I'm married and he's not. And when he gets married, so if there's any attractive single ladies listening, we got a good catch here.
There we go.
I feel like we have to divorce before he can get married.
It's like, what's that movie with Mark Wahlberg? One of you guys is Ted.
Yeah, I mean, we've been together so long, and I think it's rare that you get a chance to meet somebody that on a daily basis challenges you to be better and to learn. And I think that's us, man. We're constantly trying to push being able to help people and help athletes, help golfers play better golf, play pain-free golf. And he's a great partner for that. Where every day is a challenge, but we love it. We embrace it.
I love that. Greg, how about you? Give us a little bit of your backstory.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Boston, moved out to Arizona as a teenager, basically grew up playing soccer, baseball, hockey, a little bit of golf when I got into high school. And then as I got into college, I actually went to school for electrical engineering, and I made it 2 years, did a few internships, and was like, I hate this. Mm-hmm. And basically when I got to college, the only thing I had to replace sports was I started working out. And at that point, I basically, said to my dad, hey, I hate what I'm doing. I want to do something I enjoy. So I decided I was going to go into firefighting. So I switched over my degree to exercise science. I graduated, started personal training, and then went back for fire science. And so kind of random story. So one of the guys in my fire academy, right out of ASU, I also went to, grew up with Brandon in Tucson. So we went out for beers one night, and he brought Brandon along. I was out with all my friends, and he was like, hey, this is my buddy Brandon. You've probably seen him in the gym. You should get him a job. He's graduating in a month. And so I got him his first job working at 24-Hour Fitness with me, and pretty awesome culture. We started at a gym where there was 7 guys. Only one of them was married, no kids, and it was like we were all best friends. So for 5-6 years, there was 7 of us. We partied together on the weekends and worked together every day. And it was interesting because we had a culture where all of our clients were friends with each other because we were all friends. And, we decided, hey, someday we need to start something just like this. But to this day, one of my buddies is a firefighter. One guy works for NASM, and then the other 3 out of the 7 actually own their own gyms as well.
Wow.
Arizona. So, I mean, we've grown up, just have a lot of good buddies in the industry, and it's kind of helped us to grow in different ways, learn from each other, and kind of put us where we are today.
That's incredible. So tell us then, when did the idea of Premier Fitness Systems come about, and then how did you guys actually take that thought and that idea and turn that into reality?
Yeah, so we worked at 24-Hour Fitness. I left to go work at a different 24-Hour Fitness, the different one than Brandon was working at, and my buddy was the first guy to get picked up when they opened North Scottsdale Lifetime Fitness. My fitness manager was the first guy to get hired, and he's like, Greg, you should come work here. And so I reached out to Brandon after I talked to the manager of Lifetime. I was like, you should come with us. Let's go build, our clientele, our, everything we know up in North Scottsdale, and then we can go off and build our own thing. So we basically opened Lifetime North Scottsdale in end of 2006. And by 2009, we kind of filled my garage with a bunch of equipment, and January 1, 2010, we opened the doors for PFS.
Nice. I love it. So Brandon, one thing that as I was looking through your website and everything that really struck me, well, first of all, you put your mission on there, and just to kind of let the audience know, I'll let you kind of tell the audience what the mission of Premier Fitness Systems is.
Yeah, I think a big part of it, not reading from the website, is change the way people view exercise, change the way people view training, and really helping people to understand how everything matters. So, and this is something I think we're getting into now, but just the relationship with a movement as input to our nervous system, as input to our DNA, and how quality movement really, really matters. And I think that's something in our industry that is kind of overlooked. And typically people think of training as just a workout and a way to become more fit, a way to become more strong, or a way to perform better. And those things matter. But quality movement, I think, is number one. And I know I'm a big fan of, listening to your podcast when you interview Dr. Spina.
Yeah.
We're all FRC guys here, and his stuff is awesome. But just getting into that, helping people understand that there's a bigger picture, and the way you train, the way you move matters. Personally, for me, one of my big things is I grew up with back pain, and I've dealt with back pain for a while. And right now I'm as old as I've ever been, right? I'm 36 years old. I feel better than I felt probably at like 12. To really go back that far, being a Rotary athlete, playing baseball, and I think training wrong were big reasons why I had this back pain. And now with the emphasis of quality, with the emphasis of control, with the emphasis of breathing, all of the principles that we practice here at Premier, I feel great. So it's that. That's the mission is to educate and motivate people to live a healthy life. But the bigger picture is starting to spread the word on how quality movement, quality training, and really principle-based training plays a huge role in our performance out on the course, our performance on the field, and in life.
Yeah, when I was reading through the mission, one of the things that you guys have, the third one is results through constant innovation and inspiration, and that's exactly what you're talking about. It's kind of opening people's eyes to some new things and different ways to look at what training is, what it is to improve your body, and so that's something that I have definitely been inspired by watching your stuff, and I'm so intrigued by some of the different things that you guys do. But the other thing that really struck me about your website, which obviously reflects your company, is that you guys have a whole page dedicated to your values. And so I literally, as I was reading through that, I sent a text over to my cousin Ryan, who Ryan's the other part of 18 Strong. He's the kind of the website and back end stuff. And he and I, much like you guys, have been buddies forever. We're cousins, obviously. But I'm like, hey, this is what it's about. These guys have their values laid out, and it's not just about, we're going to make people better, we're going to make people healthy, but it's also just about the culture and the camaraderie and the community that you guys are building. So I just wanted to applaud you guys on that and ask you, is that something that, it kind of sounds like that's something that started in your 24-hour days working there and has just kind of progressed, and you guys wanted to keep building on that. Is that true?
Yeah, I think we worked at Lifetime, we worked at 24, and as great as corporate America gyms are, there's a lot of great systems in place, but there's a lot of things overlooked, just making sure, you look at companies, Discount Tire, Lululemon, Nordstrom's, companies that do an amazing job with the customer and creating an experience, and if you have a client that comes in twice a week, it's, giving them a free t-shirt, calling them the day after the first workout, making sure they're okay. And I think too many times people are just in a hurry and they don't go that extra mile for clients. And as a result, it's like, what are you left with? You're just another gym, but if you want people talking, about what you're doing that's different, part of that is the experience. People come in, they get something they're not expecting, and, they end up leaving. And a lot of our clients are great friends. We've been in weddings, bar mitzvahs, you name it. So a lot of our clients become part of our family, just as much as, people that come in and work out 2-3 times a week. Yeah. And I think our values, we kind of try to align it with, all right, businesses that are successful, what makes them successful? Companies that are like Zappos, Google, that kind of are outside the box. What are they doing that's different? Because if you want to stand out in this world, you have to be doing something that's different or be ahead of the curve. And that's why we're always looking for new methods to bring to our training as well as the customer experience.
Yeah, I love that mentality of being a bit different, but having those core values. And, I was just recently this past week, the last few days, was at the World Golf Fitness Summit, which was kind of hoping you guys were going to be there, but I know you have a lot of golfers and other guys training and couldn't make it out there. But, it was cool to see the different coaches out there. And something that struck me was that the coaches that have that kind of mentality of making it special and really connecting with their clients, their customers, their friends, their partners, whatever you want to call them. Those are the guys that are not only just, making short-term changes in people's programs, golf games, in their lives, but, they're making long-term changes in the way that those people live and interact on a daily basis, which I think is phenomenal. Let's talk a little bit. Brandon, you mentioned the whole idea of the movement stuff and how important the movement pieces are. And I know you guys have some ideas and principles around, how you work with your athletes. Again, not just your traditional strength training and lifting heavy weights, which is also a part of it, but the movement piece. How have you guys really started to tie that in? And I'm going to FRC in a month, so I can't wait to have that experience and meet Dr. Spina and get that. But how have you guys really integrated that into your programs?
Yeah, well, I think it's I looked at what I couldn't do. So as an athlete, and when you start to realize what you're not capable of, I think it starts to open up a bigger perspective on maybe what you're not doing right. And I think the movement training to me is using mobility, is using strength, is using all of these things that are out there to tie things together, right? So we talk about really training from having a principle-based system, and those principles make everything else work. So once we understand these principles that are based in science, then the application of those principles is fairly easy, and they flow into everything. And movement is just one of those variables. And I think again, movement to me is, once you have mobility, once you've opened up range, once you have strength, once you've dealt with joint issues that everybody has, then things start to tie together. And then you even look at taking it further, the sport specific piece, that, if you're a golfer, right, you need to have rotary stability, rotary strength, those things. But getting away from the isolated movements, the open chain movements that you see dominated in the gym, because I think one of the most important variables is transferability. And so what that means to us at Premier is we want to select exercises, we want to select drills, movements that have the most carryover into the world, not just into golf, but into life. And we're constantly trying to assess that. And that is a guiding principle for the decisions we make and how we train. This is a good example. Greg and I were at a workshop a few years back for Ido Portal. And Ido Portal is a big name in the movement culture world. And we did a workshop with him in New York, and they talked about transferability. And the example that was laid out was, if you take a big bench press guy at the gym, right? Your old school guy that, he's hitting bench press 3 times a week. He can bench press 500 pounds. And then take a gymnast, or take a movement athlete, somebody that has good body control, good body awareness. They can control tension. They can do all those things. If you switch them, if you take the bodybuilder, the bench press guy, and put him on, say, the rings, the gymnastic rings, he stands no chance. His skill doesn't transfer. That skill probably doesn't transfer into golf, right? He's really strong on the bench press, but not a lot of things that he does, or not a lot of other things he does, is that benefit. Where the gymnast or the movement guy, you put him on the bench, he might not bench press 500 pounds, but he's going to be strong. Mm-hmm. Those skill sets transfer. That guy, golf is is a specialty, and it's probably the most difficult sport. So it's not like he's going to be able to hit a golf ball straight, but he'll have stability. He'll have functional strength. And that idea, I think, is important when you're working out, is what exercises are you performing that have the most carryover?
That's a great example, and really kind of gives you the picture of why this is so important. Greg, what are some of the, just to give the audience that maybe hasn't come across your stuff, an idea of some of the things that you guys might do in order to work on some of these movement pieces and this transferability?
Yeah, so just kind of talking about a few of our principles. So, one of the most important things is breathing. If an athlete can't breathe and keep everything in check, the central nervous system is going to be like, what the heck's going on? So breathing, when you're, in a range, having control of your body is going to be huge. That kind of basically normal respirations in a hard situation lets the central nervous system think, okay, I'm in a good place. I'm okay here. I'm not stressed. And as a result, it can embrace that and own it. I think too often people try to do really hard stuff. They're holding their breath, and it's kind of one of those things where the central nervous system doesn't like it. So as a result, you can't really own that position. So teaching people, as we start to get into more and more difficult ranges, that it's important to get there, but then also to be able to be there, have good alignment, and then have the breathing to go with it. One of the biggest things we talk about, Spina talks about this too, is, our ability to control tension. Too often we have amazing athletes come in here, baseball players, golfers, you name it. They're great at sport, but they're not that great when we put them in different positions as far as controlling their body. And, part of the reason, like you had asked, talking about like our barefoot training, our feet, our hands are like roots of a tree. And if you're not able to connect with the ground, create tension, you lack stability, you lack your ability to move well. But bringing awareness to the table with a lot of our athletes and then teaching them how to start to create tension throughout the entire body, allows the central nervous system to connect with everything. You think of all your muscles in your body just like a basketball team. Your coach is the brain. So the better you are at running different drills and communicating, the team plays better. Same thing with the muscles. So training the muscles and the brain to kind of work together in challenging situations so that once someone's out on the field or someone's out on the course, everything's working like a fine-tuned machine.
So when one of your athletes comes in and you see some of these limitations and weaknesses after your assessments and stuff, and I would imagine breathing's one of the first things that you guys start to work on. What are some of the movement pieces that, and it's going to differ for every person, but just to give the audience an idea of, what are some of these different kind of techniques or things that you would have them do to start working on some of these smaller pieces?
Yeah, so I think usually after an assessment, we get people moving for about 10, 20 minutes, starting to do some crawling, some hanging, kind of start to see where we see some maybe big differences from left side to right side, lack of control, lack of stability. And then, specific to whether an athlete's in season or out of season, or if they're injured or just trying to get better, we really start to hammer home, whatever that person needs. So let's just say, let's just take a 50-year-old golfer that comes in here. A lot of times ankles don't move that well. They're a right-handed golfer. Their hamstring, their hip on their right side doesn't work that well. Inability to separate upper and lower body. So when people come in, we kind of take a look at, 80-90% of people are going to fall into a lot of that general category at a certain age, or if they're a righty, most people have the same differentials from left side to right side. So, after an assessment, we take a look at those things and then start to assess, on the scale of 1 to 10, how bad is this person at separating upper and lower body? How much are they able to, separate, move through their T-spine, their internal, their external rotation of their hips. And through different exercises, kind of assess that and then kind of come up with a game plan. Hey, Johnny's going to come in 3 days a week. This is where we're going to put a lot of focus. And a lot of times we have a tendency with people that come in that don't move that well, that don't have good awareness, that we really go hard the first few weeks at driving that home, teaching people, hey, this is what you're trying to accomplish. This is what we're going to work on. And then once we get athletes starting to move better, that's when we start to blend a lot more strength, power, more dynamic movements into how we train our athletes.
Gotcha. So kind of start out a little more ground level, working on just getting them moving, getting everything kind of working a little bit more, getting them kind of used to those different positions before. I think sometimes people want to come in, they want to jump in so quick. And how do you help them understand that we got to back off a little bit and start from this position? Because I can picture, and I've had guys come in and be like, "Come on, man, I want to get after it." How do you deal with that when somebody comes in, they want to move faster than you want them to go?
I think for us, Jeff, you got to blend it, right? Because we always talk. It's like we want to stay true to our principles. But if you lose somebody day one, you don't get a chance to change their life, right? So
exactly.
So understanding the psychology of an athlete, people want to move. They want to feel like an athlete, and so I think for us, it's being smart about the ways that we train them that way, right? So, for example, somebody with let's say a lot of guys might have lack of mobility in their ankles, their thoracic spine doesn't extend, all those things that Greg already mentioned. So that person should not go overhead, right? Their shoulder flexion is bad, their scapula doesn't move. So this is real common. These are common things, right? Mm-hmm. So we would be I think it's a risk reward. We're constantly weighing risk reward, and we want to keep risk low, reward high. So everything we do. So if you put that guy or that person in a kettlebell overhead swing, the risk is way too high, right? It doesn't make sense. Or doing a jump squat doesn't make sense. You're doing, the list could go on. Probably shouldn't be back squatting, right? There's all of these variables, but they can push a heavy sled. So you put a guy that was an athlete, is an athlete, you let them push a heavy sled and the risk is fairly low, the reward is very high, and they feel good. So now we can start to blend those things in. We can get them moving. There's an experience. Everybody sees the big time pro athlete pushing the heavy sled, or there's certain things like that we're constantly bringing in because, again, the reward is very high and the risk is low. So I think that's probably the best way we look at it, is we're constantly evaluating risk reward with our clients. And as we become more and more intelligent with understanding the body and understanding the nervous system and understanding the sport that our clients play, we're able to make better decisions while also creating an experience, getting them sweating and allowing them to feel great after the workout. So they're not like inching into it, but we're also not we're not putting them in stupid positions, right?
Right.
And I think you look at golf, right? It's fitness professionals are really bad at throwing people into, golfish exercises, right? So, and the client doesn't know the difference. That's the thing, right? The client doesn't know what he or she should be doing. It's our job to understand that. And if somebody has no thoracic rotation, no thoracic extension, their head position is bad, they can't breathe, like Greg mentioned, their ankles are bad, and you throw them into a rotational drill that looks golfish, well, you're asking for it, right? And they don't know the difference. So I think that's again, going back to our mission, is helping other trainers understand that, hey, like, you gotta look into this stuff, right? It's not just because the exercise looks good doesn't mean somebody's qualified to do it.
Right. That's such a great point, and something that we've talked about so many times. The whole idea of the golf fitness industry, if you will, because it's become so big and it's definitely growing, and fitness is definitely becoming a bigger part of the world of golf. There's always going to be good information, bad information, and I love that you pointed out that it's up to us to really kind of help clarify for these individuals and really kind of sort out the bad information and give them something to hold on to, and not just go in and read the latest magazine and mimic a golf swing. I think that's super important. Going back to a bit of the movement stuff, when you are relating how important this being able to move is to some of these guys, being able to breathe, are there any daily things that you have them do, kind of outside of your facility to really get them starting to work on this stuff on their own?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, we got from going to Spina's, the FRC, is just overall joint health. Waking up every day and doing our CARs, which basically is your body's way of just kind of working the outside edges, keeping the joints healthy. So from every joint in the body, we'll get most of our clients, if they can, at least every day, if not every other day, as part of their warm up, or even they get up in the morning, it's hitting CARs, starting basically down at the ankles and working the way all the way up the chain, getting everything moving. And then, for some of our guys, it's, we put together plans, if someone's going out and just going to play a pre-round, hey, here's 10, 15 minutes of stuff you could do at home. This is stuff you could do on the course. Or we've got a lot of clients that train in-house with us a few days a week, and then a few days a week they're doing their own workouts, and just kind of educating them as far as, hey, these are the things that you really need to drive home as far as in your own training, and making sure, we've got videos we send to these guys. Like yesterday, I just put together a new dynamic warm-up for one of my guys in the trailer before he goes out and plays on tour. So just kind of arming all of our clients with whatever they need to be more successful. And I think every day it's just trying to get a little bit more out of them, so they're putting more into the pot. And I think they start to see the benefit of it.
Excellent. Yeah, and just to clarify for the people listening, I mean, you guys have pretty much every level of golfer working at your place. I mean, you've got PGA players, you've got, I think, web.com, I'm sure. You guys pretty much have everything, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, we work with everything from senior tour down to, we got teenage golfers in our place. So our, North Scottsdale, where we're at, is a hotbed for a lot of your PGA guys, a lot of mini tour players, because just the season out here and how nice it is. And then, some of the nicest golf courses in Arizona are all up in North Scottsdale. You got Whisper Rock, Estancia, Shroon, all those clubs as well, which a lot of your PGA guys belong to. And then we've got a lot of 50, 60-year-old retired execs that, are avid 5-10 handicap golfers that play 3-4 days a week.
Yeah, and I would say that, we've got a mix of all of those listening on the show here. Something that you touched on earlier, Greg, and this is for either one of you, is the barefoot stuff. And I know we mentioned this when we were kind of figuring out what we wanted to talk about on the show. But I saw a post of yours probably a couple weeks ago, and you had a great picture, and I think it was just a picture of somebody either in their shoe or out of their shoe, and the picture of the tree. You mentioned that our feet and our hands are kind of like tree roots. Can you expand on that and let us know kind of your philosophy of training and why you do a lot of barefoot stuff there?
Yeah, I'll start that, Jeff. I mean, again, I think it's nervous system. So you look at you look at input to the brain and input to the nervous system, and our feet and our hands are the biggest source, right? So a good analogy is, think of how we feel our environment, we sense our environment. If something's hot, you touch it with your hands, you get signaling to your brain. And our feet are a huge input to the brain. So you get somebody that's been in shoes for majority of their life, and that input system starts to get deregulated, and the toes start to basically not work. And it's pretty powerful when you get somebody out of shoes, you get their feet to start moving, you get them to connect to the ground, they're dialing their feet in, they learn to control tension, everything just starts to fall into place. And like, that's one of the easiest things that we'll see clients that, say in a deadlift, that's a good example, that just can't execute a deadlift, they can't hinge. And within a week, you get them on the ground, you start to expand their toes, you start to get them to connect through their feet, and their deadlift gets good. They start controlling tension. And it's just something you see. We've been doing this so long, you can see quality movement, and it really does work. And you get people that have had back problems and, this and that, and you get them barefoot. If they'll embrace that, things will start to switch pretty quick. I think one of the most powerful things I've read recently is there's a book called Move Your DNA, and it's written by Katie Bowman. And it's basically, she talks about how DNA can be expressed differently depending on external factors, right? Those external factors impinge upon our cell, right? Our cells, where the DNA is. And if you think about it, movement is one of the factors that affects those cells. So quality movement is again a direct pathway to the brain and the nervous system. So if you move crappy, you're getting bad input. If you move with quality, you get good. And I think it starts with the feet and the hands, right? You start to get somebody connected through the ground. You start to get them to dial in the feet, their toes open up, that input system starts to become clear, the communication starts to be clear, and things start to fall in place.
Yeah, I would say that, over the past few years, even just like getting somebody out of their shoes, and myself personally, just starting to use a couple like little soft tissue things to just, roll out the bottom of your feet. And it was the first time I did it, I can honestly say it was a very weird sensation. And then afterwards it was like, whoa, like just walking around, you just feel different. It's like things are waking up. And, I've started to share that with some of my clients, and they all notice immediately, first of all, how if they've been in shoes forever, like you mentioned, that can be pretty uncomfortable, just starting to roll around and get that tissue moving and stretching things out. But it can make a huge difference. Now, Greg, do you guys do everything there barefooted when you guys are training?
So most of our clients, especially our athletes, we'll have them bring shoes with them. But let's just say on a given day, we've got an alleyway behind us, so we do a lot of plyos. If we're flipping tires, doing box jumps, sometimes we'll throw the shoes on. Or we have a lot of clients in here. Some are older. Some feet don't work that well. We have an awesome physical therapist on staff, so that, we do have some clients where he's like, hey, I wouldn't give someone the green light to be barefoot in here, or maybe just for 5 or 10 minutes, and then the rest of the time wearing shoes. But when we do our movement classes during the week, for the most part, everyone's got their shoes off, unless we're kind of doing something different. But as far as the body, if you can't connect with the floor, that's your first joint. Those are your roots of your tree. If your roots aren't in the ground, how much stability, how much power can you create?
Yeah.
And I think if people, especially if they're only working out 2-3 days a week, really starting to learn how to use their feet, getting mobility in their ankles, in their feet, having strength in their toes. Those are all huge factors as far as, your roots just go deeper into the floor, and as a result, you're stronger, more solid. And, that's kind of what we preach. And it's just as important for the hands, making sure that your wrists and ankles need to be mobile, your hands and feet need to be strong. And as a result, no matter what you're doing, your hands are going to connect and you're going to dial, and it's going to basically help you be stable in the upper body. Same thing with the lower body. Feet dial, you're able to centrate the joints in the hip. Your glutes are able to fire better, and as a result, you've got that solid base.
What would you say is something that the audience, if I would say most people are probably falling into that category of, wearing shoes all the time, maybe not being aware of some of this stuff. What's something simple they could start doing on their own to just start working on those things and maybe start feeling some of the things you're talking about?
One of them is we'll get people, we call basically inchworm or a high butt crawl, which basically is you're starting to crawl with your arms straight and your legs are behind you, straight, just not locked out. Your feet are about 2-3 inches apart, and you're just kind of walking across the floor, starting to drive your heels down, but basically just starting to bring some awareness to the hands, as well as starting to get the whole posterior chain moving, getting your feet, everything just starting to stretch out. Especially for a lot of our clients that come in here, they're just very tight through the posterior chain. So just starting to get some movement the first 5-10 minutes in a workout is a game changer once, people start actually doing some exercises.
Along the lines of the foot conversation, I know that many people have been told by, maybe their doc or a therapist or something that they need orthotics. What are your take on orthotics for, the majority of people that you work with?
I think it's a case by case. I think there probably are cases where a person, isn't ready to be barefoot, like Greg said. But I would tend to always go the other way, that trying to push to be barefoot. So it's I think it's probably a 50-50 split. You get a lot of people that will say that hey, more support, the better. And I think the best thing for us is we've seen it with clients. We've seen clients that resist being barefoot, that have been in their shoes, that have had orthotics, and get them barefoot, start to dose that, start to, be real cautious and be intelligent with it. And if they're willing to be patient, that they start to move better. They start to hit a golf ball further. So we've experienced it, so we see it. Not to say that the other way is, right or wrong, but we've seen it. So we believe that works, right? Is that you just have to be cautious and be careful, and you're not going to tell somebody that's been in their shoes to go run a marathon barefoot. That would be stupid. But if you dose it correctly, start to give them very simple drills, and if they're willing to invest time and energy into that process, you'll see it works. It really does.
Yeah, I think it's important to let people know that just because you've been in orthotics maybe forever. I was just talking to a gentleman this past weekend, and he showed me his foot. He's super pronated foot, and he just kind of alluded to the fact that, oh yeah, I've been in orthotics forever. There's not much I can do. And this is a 45-year-old man. And I was standing there with another really great fitness coach, and she's like, no, there's plenty of stuff that you could do. It's just you need to, like you said, invest the time, and we can help you figure some of this stuff out. But don't just assume that because you've been wearing orthotics that it's over, especially for golfers. As much as you're on your feet walking, I think that's something that's really been taken for granted by most golfers, is the fact of, they've got all this great equipment, their drivers, their irons, all these, sweet, flashy clothes, but, do they take the time to invest and really look at what they're putting on their feet and what's inside that shoe, and using the feet the way that they should be. So I just wanted to kind of point that out and get your opinion on that stuff. Before we... Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
So our PT works with a guy on the web. Kind of funny, he lost about 15 yards over the course of this season, and so Mike, our physical therapist, actually has him, barefoot for the last few weeks in here training, and he's actually been playing 1 or 2 rounds a week barefoot out on the course, and he's got his distance back just from going barefoot as he practices on the course. So just kind of funny side note.
Yeah, that's cool. If your club will let you go out barefoot, give it a shot.
Yeah.
All right, guys, before we just kind of get into a few of the last minute questions here, I know you guys have all kinds of different programs at your place, but I know you have some online programs, and that, people, I mean, you work with people not just in your local facility, but all over the place. Give us an idea of what those programs look like and how that works with somebody.
Yeah, so we decided when we started doing this that we wanted to always maintain a level of individualization. And so currently what we do is we do our eval via Skype or FaceTime. So we'll sit down with that person and we go through a very similar movement screen, joint screen that we would do in-house. And from there, we build the program. So our programs typically get, we tell everybody, give us a week to 2 weeks to build those programs. So the initial consultation is face-to-face via the computer. We screen joints, we look at ankles, we look at knees, we look at hips, we look at spine. We ask the people what they have access to, what their goals are. Are they going to be working out at home? Do they have a gym? All of those things so that we can fully customize the program. And then we go to the drawing board. So we sit down and we'll customize the program based off of the person's goals and needs. The program comes to them via email, and every exercise that we include in the program is hyperlinked to a video that we put together. So a lot of times those videos are customized. We're creating videos as we go for the person's needs. That's awesome.
Has that been pretty successful for you guys?
It has, yeah. I mean, with our social media, we get people every week, and the people that we worked with are pretty happy with the program. So I think that is, again, what makes us unique, is that we look at that individualization as a very important component. And we'll get to a point where we have programs that are, pre-created, that we create, for kind of a box of people, if you will. But currently that's what we do for our online training, is we do a screen via Skype or via FaceTime. We create it and we go from there.
That's cool. It's amazing that what technology can do these days, and how, the reach really is endless when we have all these different tools. I mean, I'm in St. Louis, you're in Phoenix, and we're getting this chat in, but yep. Also to be able to really give somebody a unique and individualized experience via technology, the computer, FaceTime, and stuff like that is amazing. All right, guys, I got a couple final last minute questions for you, which I think you kind of know what's coming. I'm going to let each of you answer both of them briefly. And first and foremost, of course, is Caddyshack or Happy Gilmore? Brandon, I'll let you go first.
I got to go Happy Gilmore, man. They're both good, but I remember being in Tucson. I think it was the Dollar movie, right, when Happy Gilmore was out for me, and I probably went 17 times. So, yeah, I mean, that's my generation. They're both great movies, but Happy Gilmore.
Awesome. Greg?
I got to go Caddyshack all the way. I grew up, love Chevy Chase movies, and, as far as for me, even when I go to my dentist twice a year, they have you can put DVDs in, and a lot of times I'll pop that in, man. It's a classic.
Nice. All right, Greg, if you had the chance to play 18 holes with anyone, past, present, future, doesn't have to be in the world of golf, who would it be, and where would you play, and why would you pick that person?
I think I'd go out to Torrey, little Torrey South, and I'd play with my grandfather. My grandfather grew up in Boston, 5 kids, worked 2 jobs, never touched a golf club in his life.
Awesome.
So it'd be awesome just to go out there. I mean, he was a good athlete growing up, but just kind of get him out there, hack it up, smoke some cigars, have a good time.
Sounds great. Brandon, how about you?
That's a tough one, man. I thought about that a little bit, and my brain went to do 2 different places, but I think my decision would be Tiger in his prime. And I think the main reason I'd go that route is because I think there's a chance I could have changed his outlook on training, and maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe his back would be good, because I really do think that he, there's so many, different ideas out there, but I think he got into strength training. Maybe he didn't, follow some principles, right? And he got, he started to build strength where there was compensations, and his back goes out. I've had back pain. I know how bad that sucks. So, you never know.
Yeah. No, very interesting take. I like that. I like that. All right. What has you guys most excited with what's going on at PFS and where you guys are going, let's say the next 6 months to a year?
I think the biggest thing would have to be for us, we just brought yoga in, starting in 2 weeks. We're bringing on another trainer or two, start this next busy season. But I think for us is just having a solid team, and probably going to release our first certification middle of next year sometime.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I know you guys have a great staff there. I got to throw a shout out to Andrew, who's, a lot of his stuff I follow and watching his hip mobility stuff. So I wanted to say hello to him on the air here. Brandon, anything you got?
Yeah, we'll make sure Ando PFS, right? That's his. So Ando PFS, Michael K, Dr. Michael K. But I think the same thing. I think for us, it's, you look at these great tools, the great connections that we have access to, like yourself, and what you're doing just opens up doors for us to get our message out there, to expose what we do to more people, and to change the way people view fitness, right? I think as we grow, we're always going to be rooted in why we do what we do, and that is to positively affect people's lives. And as those opportunities grow, right, we get that opportunity to affect more people, and everybody wants to be able to go out and play 18 strong. They want to be able to feel good, play the sports that they love, and fitness and movement is a great tool to do that. So as we expand our outreach, we get a chance to have a bigger effect on people, and that's why we do what we do.
That's great.
That's great.
All right, guys, where can the audience go to find out more about you, what you guys have to offer at your facilities, the online stuff, and then even, social media-wise?
So www.premierfitnesssystems.com. We also have PFS Golf. Those will go, so pfsgolf.com. They'll both go to our website. Our website has all our information. We got some good content up. Our YouTube channel has tons of exercises and videos and probably too much. We have so much going on there that, we're going to clean that up a little bit, but that's a great resource just to see what we're doing. The Instagram is great as well. You've got PFS Golf. Greg does an awesome job running that. And then all of our other channels. So Ando PFS, mine is Brandon PFS. I don't think it's Brandon Harris PFS, but Brandon PFS.
Yeah, we'll link all of these up too, so these will all be in the show notes. So
our Facebook page, Premier Fitness Systems, also has all of our content. So they're definitely all interlinked. Yeah, mine is Brandon PFS Brandon _PFS. So I think you do a Google search, Premier Fitness Systems, you'll find a bunch of our stuff, and it's all right there. And if anybody has specific questions, we do our best to return everybody's email, everybody's direct message. If we can help people in any way, we'll do our best to do that.
I love it. Well, guys, I just want to take the time to say thank you, first of all, for coming on the show, obviously, but for being an inspiration and really, you're doing exactly what you are intending to do. And the stuff you're putting out is changing people's perception of what it looks like to be strong, what it looks like to be athletic, and especially for the golfers that are looking for information. You're one of the places that I direct them to when, I can't tell you how many times I've showed some of your videos to clients of mine or friends of mine, just some of the different exercises, and have taken some of the things that you have posted and started to utilize it in my own stuff. It's one of those things where you see an exercise and it turns a light bulb on in your head, and you're able to then use it and kind of implement it. So you guys are doing a fantastic job. Thank you again for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Appreciate it.
All right, if you want any more information on Brandon or Greg or what they're doing down at Premier Fitness Systems, or PFS as they're better known to many in the golf world, you can go to 18strong.com/PFS or just look up episode number 111 and you'll find everything you need to know. Again, if you don't have your super speed golf clubs yet, by all means go there, use the code 18strong and start swinging faster like everybody else is doing, like I saw at the conference. Just about every coach I talk to is already using the super speed golf clubs. So Don't be behind the curve on that one. All right, I thank you for joining me on the 18 Strong podcast. By all means, go check us out on iTunes if you haven't subscribed yet. And we'd love to hear any feedback, so shoot me an email, send us a tweet, whatever you got. I appreciate you being here, and I'll catch up with you next week. Train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.
Thanks for listening to the 18 Strong podcast at www.18strong.com. And remember, train hard, practice smart, and play better golf.